Hey kids, welcome to Unit 5, Lesson 8, Modifying Images, exercise number 1. We have an investigate and modify. We're going to run the program to observe the results. Then we're going to experiment with the program by making the following modifications. Change one line at a time, then run the program after each change to observe the result. Before we hit run, let's take a look at the code and see what we're working with. We're importing our theater and our media classes. We're instantiating a new object, myScene, from the scene class. Then we have a sepia image class creating myImage. And all sepia is a fancy term for what those old photographs look like, that brownish color. That's all sepia is. That new object is passing along paintbrush JPEG, and I bet you if we go to our manage assets, we will see a paintbrush right there. Then we're drawing an image. It's going to be at the width. We're going to wait 1 second. We're going to call our make sepia method and then redraw the image. So it looks like we're going to display our image, run this method, and we're probably going to shift the colors towards brown. Finally, we are just playing the scene so we can see it over here. Let's look at Image Plus. We're importing the theater and the media class. We're extending the image class. We're creating a 2D array of pixels. We have our pixels get pixels method, and we can remember this from lesson number 6. Get pixels is creating a 2D array of the pixels that include their RGB colors. Image pixels returns pixels. We have our get pixels method. This is going through the image, and it is returning the pixels at each X and Y coordinate with an RGB value. Looks like that's all we have here. In our sepia image class, we're extending our image plus, so we're getting all of those methods. And then we have a sepia image constructor. It's just taking the file. We have one method, make sepia. We're creating a new 2D array pixels of the pixel class. It is called get pixels, and it is equal to get pixels. And if you remember, that's the array of our image, our X and Y, with RGB values. We're going through all of those X and Y pixels, and at each pixel, we're going to change the RGB by setting the red, green, and blue to some new values. The red looks like it is this. Green is going to be multiplied like this. And blue is being multiplied like this. Then we're going to set our red, green, and blue with the colors we just created. And that's the end of the method. Again, all we're doing is making this reddish brown tone to our image. That's it. And if you remember from our last couple of lessons, images are darker at 0, lighter at 255. Sepia is a medium dark shade of brown. That means we're going to be about half red, quarter green, and just a little blue. And that's what this little math problem should be giving us here. Let's go back to my theater. Before we start changing the program, we should hit run. What do I think is going to happen? I think we are going to get our image to pop up. Then it is going to clear the screen and then pop up again. And because of that, sepia is that reddish brown. I think the image is going to look a little reddish brown. Well, let's see if I'm right. I was expecting it to be a little more dramatic, but hopefully you can see the old-timey picture filter. Let's go ahead and see what we have to do. Look at the make sepia method in the sepia image class. What do you notice about the code? Where do you think the values used to create the new red, green, and blue come from? I think we already answered this one. Let's go ahead and look at our sepia class. Down here, we are setting our red, green, and blue pixels to this little formula here. And I believe this is giving us that 50% red, 25% green, and 10% blue. And that gives us our old-timey filter look that we're after. Number 2, try modifying these values, then run the program. How does it change the image? Well, I think if I mess with any of these images, I'm not going to get quite the filter that I'm looking for. Let's try changing them to some random numbers. This is a 4. Let's change it to a 5. Let's change this one to a 2. And this one to a 8. That should be giving us a lot more red, so the image should look a lot more red. Well, let's see if I'm right. It looks like I was right. It looks a little redder than it was before. So we change these ratios, it changes the output of the filter. It no longer becomes a sepia we were accustomed to. Now it's our own user-defined image filter instead. Pretty neat, huh? Let's look at our last question here. What happens if you try to set the color value to the same value? Try setting the red, green, and blue values to use the new red value and then run the program. How does it change the image? Let's go back here and first let's get back our original values. New red was about 50%. That means if I change all of these to the new red, I'm going to be in the middle of my 0 to 255. That gives us gray. Let's see if I'm right. Down here, we're just going to copy our new red, and we're going to set all of our pixels to this color. When I hit run, I think my image is going to look very gray. Let's see if I'm right. It does. It is gray. And if you think about it, if black is 0, white is 255, somewhere in the middle has to be gray. So when we change each of the new colors to equal the new red, the output is produced to a grayscale image. I think you should keep that in mind because this is also a type of filter. Finally, after this, we just have a little information about the sepia tone. Hopefully I taught you a little bit about that in this video already. Key takeaway from this lesson is this idea of creating our own filters. We can use our 2D arrays to traverse images to create our own custom set of filters. And this is what this lesson was really demonstrating. It was showing you what the sepia filter is, and that's more of a reddish brown color. And by adjusting these values, we created our own. And then we learned if we just set it to the middle, because 0 is black, white is 255, somewhere in the middle is gray. And all of these are just filters we can use through our 2D array. And all of this is just trying to demonstrate to you how we can use a 2D array to traverse through different values, in this case it's pixels, to change them. And this is going to be a very important skill at the end of the course when you take your FRQ, because remember, we have 4 questions. We already know what they are. First is our method and control structures, second is classes, third is 1D array, and fourth is 2D array. So understanding how to use these 2D arrays is very important to you being successful in the exam. Hopefully this video helped you understand how to modify images just a little better. As always, kids, if you have any questions, come see me. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next lesson. See you later, kids. Bye. Bye.